Welcome to Live at the Blue Box. We are starting super early tonight because just like last week, we are having a micro-con, only this one is like just kind of happened. So it just kind of happened, and I blame you guys. I blame all of you artisty, writery guys. So for those of you that don't know, here's what we do. Every Saturday night, okay, it's not every. We try to be every Saturday night. We do live podcasts here. Every week we do live podcasts here. From 6 to 9 typically. We do game shows. We do all sorts of stuff. Tonight, we will be having our normal night, but before we do that, we're going to have a panel because at the Elgin Library, they had, what was it called? Comic Book Mania. And we went and talked to people there, and we got artists and writers that came out here to do this with us. So we're going to talk to them. And you can see our lineup there. We also have more artists and writers in the middle, and we are playing Geektastic Cage Match, which is arguably our most popular thing. So if you can stick around, that is a blast. And we're also doing This Week in Geek tonight. We got a full load. So, guys, we're going to do this kind of like, we're going to make it up. So I thought we had more. We have the three of you and we have you two guys. We haven't had anyone else show up. So why don't we have, since you were here first, let's have you come up. Come on up.
Your mic, this mic. Oh.
That mic. I mean, if you wanted to sit on my lap, you could, but that's a little weird.
Well,
I got a baby Bjorn. I could hold you in that.
Only for you. Only for you. There we go.
Can you hear him?
Hello. All right. Sibilance. 1, 2, check.
All right. Okay, so let's start out. What we're going to do is we're just going to kind of talk.
All right.
No, nothing weird here. First of all, I'm Rob Southgate, one of the owners of Southgate Media Group. We're a podcast company for those of you in the room that don't know. And you can find our website at southgatemediagroup.com. Everything we're doing tonight is getting recorded. We'll be there. We'll be on iTunes and Stitcher and Podbean and Podomatic, Potty McPods, all those places. Every place they have podcasts, we should be. And we are also, thank you, streaming live on Meerkat, right there.
Okay, cool.
Those two cameras there. We have YouTube Live. We have Google Plus Live. We have Twitch. Is that it? And we have William and Jacob watching us, which is the scariest part. So cool. We're all over the place, but this will be available. Let's start this off. So, first of all, what's your name?
Oh, my name's Tom Kelly. I'm a comic book artist and illustrator.
All right. And you're from Chicago, right?
Well, that's where I live now. I grew up actually in Pennsylvania. You guys ever see the show The Office?
Yeah.
All right. That's set in Scranton. That's my hometown. That's where I grew up. So all the stuff you see in the background, it's real stuff. They're just much like any movie in New York. None of that's all together. It's all different places. Yeah. It's like I can get from the Statue of Liberty to, Central Park in 10 minutes. It's like, no, you gotta go through some, roads.
That's like when they do Chicago and you're like, they quick turn on the street, they got a Lower Wacker, and you're like, that isn't even in the same area.
Yeah, it's kind of like watching a Batman movie where you see Gotham and it's always like, that's Lower Wacker Drive and that's over there. And so I just notice stuff when I watch The Office about what's in the background where they say they're going to get lunch.
So I want to talk about Dwight Schrute.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. So you're a comic book artist. I was knocked out. When we were walking around, we were looking at your artwork. For those of you that are here, Tom has his portfolio. He is selling stuff if you want anything.
Yeah, feel free to look
Edward,
through.
there is Deadpool. That is amazing.
Yeah.
It's
right there on
great
the
stuff,
table.
man.
Oh, thank you. I try. It's always weird. It's strange because as an artist, you get two responses to your artwork. Consistently, you always get
You're amazing, like that.
Well, you get people who like you and they give you praise, or they just hate you.
So there's no gray area.
Yeah, like if you're talking to go get a job, you talk to an editor or an art director or somebody like that, they don't want to praise you too much because it's kind of like feeding a stray dog. Like if they're too nice to you, they're almost obligated to give you work.
Or you're going to cost more.
Right, exactly, because then your ego gets big. And then the flip side is kind of like your mom. She loves everything you do, but she's your mom, so she's kind of obligated to, you know.
Yeah, mine's not here yet, and she apparently doesn't understand that you're obligated to love everything.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I always remember a thing that like Bruce Lee said is like when you compliment someone, always compliment them for like what they do. Because like if you go up to a celebrity and you say I love you, they don't know how to process that.
It's such a weird
But
thing.
if you but if you get them to talk about their craft, like if you go up to your favorite writer and said, I really like how you wrote this story, like what were you thinking when you did X, Y, and Z? There's an actual answer to that rather than like, you're so great, how can I get into your skin? It's like, I don't know. You know?
Frankly, if someone said that to me,
Well, yeah, I mean, you see these rabbits.
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I feel sorry for him, I think.
I go to a lot of
Lots of hair and skin tags. That's gross.
Well, I mean, I set up at a lot of comic book shows, and you know, there's a lot of celebrities there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who.
Yeah, we saw Mini-Me at one. We saw some wrestlers.
Yeah, well, no, they're
Lou Ferrigno's at every one. I'm surprised he wasn't at this one cleaning up afterwards.
Well, him and Virgil are fighting in the parking lot. They're just redoing They Live, just like with them, you know. So.
Shut up. Does that sound like the greatest thing ever? Who's going to cast Lou Ferrigno in They Live? Could you imagine? Ooh, it's turning into This Week in Geek.
He should be, you know, pretty much the Roddy Piper role. You know, Virgil can be, you know, the other role.
Oh, my God.
And then you just throw in The Rock and you have a hit movie. That's pretty much it.
You know what? I just ordered the Blu-ray and I didn't even know it was out there.
Yep.
That's awesome. So, wow, you know, that is going to be one of those stumbling blocks for me. I'm going to be thinking about it all night. Thanks a lot.
I can cast
okay. So you're an artist. You say you're a comic book artist. Have you done comic books, or is it more you do prints that you sell at cons? What's your thing?
Well, I do both. Because of comics and superheroes are so pop culture now.
Right.
It used to be you'd go to a convention to make connections to get work. So
right.
You
it used to be guys walked around with their portfolios just dying to get noticed.
And more publishers would show up. Like there'd be like 4 or 5 main shows a year. That's pretty much all you would go to.
Right.
Like there'd be the Wizard World Chicago.
I think there's 4 or 5 this weekend now here.
Right. Yeah, there's so many now that it's like a circuit.
Right.
Like it's like a craft fair or an art circuit. Like you can go to it, set up, and make a decent amount of money, and you know sort of move on to the next. So for me, I do both. I sell and make prints for shows as well as do artwork when I'm at the show. But I also do comics. I have worked for companies like Marvel and DC.
So you've worked
Image.
for those companies.
No.
So you're like freelance with them.
Yes.
Like, okay. Do you have your own book at all that you've ever done, or?
I'm working on it now. Actually, I want to. Probably by I think the end of this coming December, I'll have it done and ready to kickstart and stuff like that.
All right. Any clue as to what it's about? You want to expose anything here? Or? I mean, is it superhero? Is it more like Ghost World?
It's pretty much very action adventure.
Your artwork has a lot of motion to it.
Yeah,
and it's very dramatic, so I would assume that. But
I won't go into too many details other than
there's comic artists and writers here. They might steal your idea.
No, it's more one of those things. Is like once you say something out loud, you sort of will it into the universe, into already existing.
We know that. That's how we end up with 90 shows on our network.
Right. So
I'd like to have a Walking Dead show. Boom. Darn it.
So for me, it's just a combination of things I liked in my childhood. So it was like kung fu theater and monster movies. So it's sort of a mashup of that.
Oh, you know I'm in, man.
Right. So
are there giant like monsters in it too? Possibly coming.
Eventually, you know.
Yes.
At this point, it's just a simple, action sort of revenge story. You know, and
awesome.
with all the sort of Run Shaw, House of Flying Daggers, sort of, kung fu theater stuff mixed in with, what you might see like in a Hammer horror film.
Oh my gosh, you're just pushing all my buttons. That's awesome.
Well, everyone was always like, well, if you make something like, if you're going to spend time on something, make something that you would at least like to read or like enjoy.
Absolutely.
So that's what it is, basically.
And that's something from talking to so many people that do this, like not just comics, but movies or TV or anything. The ones that have reached what they actually were after have said the same thing. Like they've said, I started doing this nobody wanted to read about my demonic toys, and I just kind of kept doing it, and then eventually everybody was reading about my demonic toys or whatever it is. It's like, who would have thought the Ninja Turtles? These two guys sat on their couch making something up that was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah, essentially a Daredevil joke.
Yeah. And it became like a cottage industry. It's crazy. But you know which one didn't become a cottage industry? Was the one that made fun of that, which was adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters, which I loved.
But I mean, you can look at the same thing with like the Transformers. Like, remember the GoBots?
GoBots, of course.
And there's like 5 or 7 other.
Mask was kind of a ripoff of that too.
Yeah.
Which is now getting tied into G.I. Joe. In the G.I. Joe film, it's going to have Mask. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's. Yeah, I mean, you could look at G.I. Joe and then you could look at Megaforce and go, huh?
Yeah. How'd that happen?
If we went just a little bit more campy, we could have had. Megaforce. All right. Way to go,
But we got The Rock, and now it's not Megaforce. Now it's trying to be G.I. Joe. So, as far as artwork goes, what's your medium? Or is it? Do you generally ink? Do you have somebody that does the coloring for you? How do you do that?
For myself, I do it all myself pretty much.
Okay.
So I work in a sort of hybrid way. I sketch it all out, and then usually I bring it into the computer. Use programs like Manga Studio and Photoshop to do the inking and coloring work.
Yeah. Interesting. I was actually just about to buy Manga Studio because I do the. This is not like doing artwork, but I do artwork for the episodes.
Yeah.
And one of the podcasters on Level 7, I can't think of the name. Access Level 7. It's the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show.
Oh, okay.
Told me that we were talking, and he said that Manga Studio is the best for fonts.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's
He just uses it to like make these little things. He was like, it's the greatest program.
Many people I know use it to letter their comics, and I know a lot of people use it to ink their comics. Like, I'm friends with guys like Mike Norton and stuff like that who do like Battle Pug and Revival. He works exclusively that way. He doesn't work on paper at all anymore.
Wow.
I mean, he'll maybe do like little rough thumbnails, but he does it all, in the computer.
So that brings up a good question. Are you working digitally mostly, or are you working paper? And
I'm in a weird transition time because I'm in that generation sort of in between like full computer to analog.
Yeah.
So for me, it really is 50-50. Sometimes it depends on the project, like how fast the turnaround time has to be, or the type of look I want to get.
Okay.
The computer sometimes can be really sterile. If you look at people, certain inkers like Mike Allred, like when you see like his style, it has almost like a coloring book, like thick line.
You know what? I am crazy for Mike Allred.
Yeah, it's great.
I know some people are weird about him. I love his style, but I love so many styles.
Right. Well, then you can look at someone like, say, Klaus Janson or Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like ink and pop and grain and dirt, and depending on what type of look you want to do, there's different tools for it.
So you kind of do a mix.
Yeah. Like for me, it's much more of a hybrid method of 50-50. I probably will eventually transition all the way into digital, just because it's easier workflow. If you are working with partners, it's easier to send the files.
Sure.
In the old days, you used to have to do like FedEx, which
we used to do Kinko's at 1 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's when we did zines.
FedEx, you'd have to get to the airport or get to the thing on time before it closed to get it out in the day. And I mean, I've heard amazing horror stories of like pages getting lost for months and winding up in like England because they sent it to another guy with a similar name, and like they don't ever get back to you. And
oh my god!
I Herb Trimpe, who used to do the Hulk, when I was in art school, he came down and gave us a lecture, and he was telling us about when he was working on staff at Marvel. Not him, but another one of the artists he knew was driving across the George Washington Bridge into New York with his convertible.
Okay.
And the pages just went
off
over the bridge and into the river. And he was on his way in to hand in the pages, and he just like drove all the way in and was like.
And he couldn't text, "Hey, the book's going to be late."
Oh no, he had to literally go in and be like,
walk in and say, "Guess what happened?"
They just flew L out the window, and they're now in the East River.
I'm sure nobody had anything negative to say to him at that point.
Yeah, Excelsior. That's I'm sure was all that was said. You know,
it was probably like, keep your top down. Enough said.
Oh, it was an amazing story because we're all sitting there just like, what did he do? And he's like,
how much work is that?
What could you do? You know, you just. That was the name of that piece.
But that's kind of like the comic book equivalent of the dog ate my homework, you know?
I mean, for somebody that there was probably one person the dog did eat their homework, and everybody else is like, well, I'll use that. That sounds good. I'll go with that. It worked for him.
Didn't work for me.
So, yeah, I mean, but my style is really much 50-50. It's a hybrid of what I needed to do and the look I want to get with it. But when you work with other people, other writers, colorists, letterers, for the workflow, it's way easier. I do a lot of like design work for bands and other people and commercial stuff, and I do everything through like Dropbox. So we trade files that way.
That's
and it's
how
just
we run our
easier.
business is through Dropbox.
Or like I think it's like Google Drive. Yeah.
Yeah, some of our guys use that. Most of them use Dropbox.
Yeah.
We don't have a strict rule on it because
it's whatever they want to use.
It's just like with the recording. We do a lot through Skype.
Yeah.
But some of our people are like, I can't figure out Skype. We're always
right.
Okay, so they use Google Hangout. We've got one using like a memo thing, and it sounds like she's talking to a tin can. But you know what? She said everything else isn't working for her. Okay, I've got GarageBand. I'll make it sound a little better.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't say awesome. Well, a little better.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're very punk rock about our stuff. As you can tell, we like, hey, let's have a Comic-Con right now. And here we are.
I mean, that's the interesting thing. Like, when you tell me about like podcasts, like, oh, you do a podcast, I'm like, oh, cool. Of course I'd love to talk to you because I know you reach a broader community.
Right.
And to me, like, I look at all podcasts as like the old like fanzines.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Well, I told you, that's where we came from. Martha and I had a zine back in the late 80s, early 90s. Okay. She's not listening. This is very typical for our relationship.
That's all good.
But we were part of that like world of zines.
Yeah, like I mean, I remember the guys like Forrest Ackerman and Starlog and like all that sort of stuff.
Last week we had a big Starlog conversation here. I was going to have my own. I should say I have my own fictitious rock band called Starlog.
Oh,
and our first album was called Back Issues. And it's an all tribute to sci-fi and everything, and that's as far as it goes. It's fictitious.
But it's so funny now.
We write down that word. It is fictitious. We're not doing it.
So all you people out there, Starlog, band name up for grabs.
It's awesome. I get 10%. Okay, so before I want to bring up the next guys,
sure,
but before
course.
we do that, where can people find your stuff? What cons are you going to?
Okay.
And you know what? Before you even go, I want to say, and I'm going to say this to everybody, we want to have you back at some point for like a full-blown interview and do our whole thing. But tonight this was all thrown together, so we're just giving like 10 minutes, 15 minutes per group. Yeah. So.
All right. You can find me all over. I'm on Facebook, Twitter.
What's your Twitter? My
Twitter is Tom Kelly Art. My Facebook page is Tom Kelly. I'm in Chicago, so just look for the Tom Kelly.
Okay.
My website is on DeviantArt. It's just Tom Kelly Art on DeviantArt.
Okay.
I tried to make it really simple on myself.
Unless another Tom Kelly shows up. I'm the one without the E.
Yeah, or the EY or the
right.
There's a lot of folks. Let me see. The next shows I'm going to be at, I'm going to be in the Boston Comic-Con, which will be coming up in 2 weeks. That's July 31st through August 2nd.
All right.
And then I think my next show that I know of is going to be New York Comic Con in October. And then I think I'm doing another library show, but I'm not sure when that is. I think that's in October. I have to double check. It's going to be a bunch of people there. Gene Ha's going to be there.
Let us know, and we will tweet it out. And we always share and retweet and do all that kind of stuff.
Cool. Awesome.
And we're working on it right now to have panels at New York Comic Con. So if we end up doing it,
sure.
we will connect.
That'd be great.
And we'll connect you with. We've got some really great artists that we're friends with in the podcast for us.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Sean Hamilton's artwork. He does really great stuff. And Kirk Manley,
Okay.
who does Z-Girl and the Four
Yeah, I know
Tigers.
him, yeah.
He's one of our podcasters. He's awesome.
Oh, awesome.
So we will definitely connect you with those guys.
Cool.
All right?
Cool.
Tom, thank you so very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Let's hear it for Tom.
Woo.
Tom Kelly. Thanks, Tom. You guys, Tango. Well, Tango and Cash. I need both of you up here. Did you guys get something to eat?
Yeah,
I got some
I'm
soup.
caffeinated.
How was the soup? I can't eat it here.
Why not?
Because we have a lot of gluten allergies and it has pasta and stuff in it, so that happens.
Well, I ate enough for you and me.
You had enough? All right. Get close to the mics, as close as you can there. Don't
All right.
eat it, though.
I'm not that hungry anymore.
You had the soup. Which soup did you have?
I had the tortilla soup.
I bet that's good.
It was. Sorry to rub it in.
Oh! And did you eat? I can't see you down there. I'm going to move this.
You aren't missing anything. It's okay.
Oh, now I want to move back. Hold on a second. So, okay, let's start on the end. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Rich Perez.
Hi, Rich. And you are?
Rage Ledbetter.
Rage.
Yep.
Gotta like that. So, okay. Rich, right?
Yes.
I wrote Raj here. I don't know why.
Raj.
From now on,
That's
you're
him.
Raj.
What's happening?
Yeah, right. Raj. Oh, that's awesome. Now I know what I want to talk about.
Hey, it's either that or Steve Urkel. So I'll go for the Raj.
Yeah, let's go for Raj. That's much better.
I agree.
So you guys, well, here, let's say what you do. Rich, you're the writer, correct?
I am the writer, correct.
Get that mic closer to you.
Oops. Yes, I am the writer, and we have two stories out. One's called Descent of the Dead, and the other is called The Infinium. Horror and Heroes.
Cool. You said they're horror?
Yeah, I have a horror comic called Descent of the Dead, and
Okay.
a cosmic superhero called The Infinium.
Cool. And you said, now, oh, wait, before we get into that, and then what do you do, Rage?
I'm the inker for both books, but I'm the concept artist also on Descent of the Dead. I do storyboards.
Cool.
And editor.
And the editor.
Yeah.
Well, you said you're kind of the gopher, you're
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Colorist, yeah.
You're the Urkel of the
Yeah,
organization. I got it.
Somebody's got to be.
Yeah, somebody's got to be. So, you guys are a different story than what we just went through with Tom. You guys have your own comic company called Tango, right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
And when did you guys start?
That was in November of 2009.
2009. All right. And you've got two books. Did you have any other books in the series, or did you just? Are these the two you started with, and you're kind of wrapping them up? How'd that go?
Those were what I call the immediate obsession that I wanted to get out the door.
Okay.
There's other stories, but these are the ones that were probably the most prominent that we wanted to present first. Because it kind of opens the doorway for a lot of other stories, but we wanted to get these as the foundation.
So, okay. So these are the ones you started with. You said you're wrapping them up, though. How many issues is it per story, generally?
6 issues for both titles.
So in this time, how quickly are you producing? Like every 6 months a new book, or
Roughly.
is that about it?
Yeah, it's about
It's
6
tough.
to-
I mean, a book takes a long time when it's three guys. you know?
And we have
depends on
day
the artist.
jobs.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So depending on the artist, we're talking between 6 to 8 months. Yeah, it's about a fair estimate.
And since you were the writer, Rich, did you write complete stories and say, these are the short stories I'm working from, these are the two I want to have produced this
Correct.
way?
Yeah, so each one started off as short stories that had never been published or seen the light of day, and then they get skewered and condensed and compressed and, over realized so that artists can take it up, soak it up like a sponge, and then provide their visualization thereafter. So, yeah, so that's kind of how they started off of, and then even beyond that, chop it up and divide it up into each issue and subplots and narratives and all that fun stuff.
Sure.
So it's
And then, now Ron isn't here, but Ron, does he do the other book? You're doing concept on
Descent of the Dead.
Descent of the Dead. I got to write this down. I can't remember things here. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Descent. It was a cool book. I just can't remember the names of things. Descent of the Dead, and the other one was Infinium? Infinium.
And Ron does the art for that one.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get spaced on who's doing what here. So does he do the concept for that, and then you guys kind of all work, and you do Descent of the Dead, and then you guys all work on that, or?
Ron puts pencil to paper, and he's just been a fan of the medium for so long. He doesn't need the concept art. He just
Wow.
goes right to it.
Just right at it.
Yeah, he reads it and he gets the imagination and he just puts, pencil to paper, he's got it. Yeah.
So when you write, when you're working, okay, we're going to talk about you guys because you work together on this. As a writer, when you write your script for, we'll go to Son of the Dead. We'll just go with this. Do you give him notes like, this is the type of shot I want? Because I know comic book writers that write it very much like a screenplay,
Yeah.
like this angle this way, this is this, and then other guys that just go, here's the dialogue, envision, and every once in a while it's a little note like, I want a panel where this guy gets shot.
That's a great question. So mostly I leave it up to the creativity of the artist. I really want to be surprised. There are certain points and certain times where I'm like, hey, you have to do it this way. But otherwise, 99% of the time, I'm tapping off their imagination. This is their domain. I have mine, and I just want to be dazzled and impressed, just based on what their interpretation of it is.
Excellent. Good answer. As the artist, do you like having that freedom, or do you? I don't want to throw you under the bus. You're like, yeah, no, he sucks. He doesn't do this. What I mean is, I know that if I was doing the art, I would prefer to have the freedom to look at what they say and just envision. But I also know artists that like to have the direction. What type of artist are you?
With Rich, I prefer it the way it is because I've known him 31 years now. And we did comic strips back in high school. And so
were you
now,
zine guys too?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah!
And so whenever he writes anything, we've known each other so long
Yeah.
that it's just telepathic.
just know, yeah.
I just
Yeah,
know.
he just gets it.
Which is part of the reason why I'm the concept artist on Descent of the Dead. The regular artist there, sometimes he has trouble filtering his words.
Right.
And that's where my visuals
You
will
can
come
you
in.
can envision what he's looking for well, and then pass it on to the
Yes,
artist.
so I'm the middleman for that.
Very cool.
And Ron is so well versed in comics in general that he reads Rich's material when he does read them. He reads Rich's material, and he's got access in his mind of so many different angles, so many shots
Yep.
that he grew up on, that he loved, that it's not a problem for him either.
Very, very good answer. Very cool. So, as an artist, obviously this was your thing. His thing was the writing. Who are the guys that inspired you?
Oh my goodness!
I know it's going to be a laundry list,
Yeah.
but throw a couple of big names out.
Well, I can tell you right now, when I got into comics, I'd always been a fan of comics, but it was when the 80s rolled around. John Byrne, huge influence.
Yeah.
Walt Simonson, another huge
Okay,
influence.
yeah.
You know? And ironically, or maybe not if you knew me, pretty much the entire artistic staff over at Mad Magazine.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I
if
saw
you-
your work.
if
You
you
know
seen
what?
my
You're
work.
dead. The way on the one cover where it had the leg, the back of the leg, I actually thought of Mad Magazine, of the original black and white.
Yes.
It reminded me of that a little bit. So I totally get that.
My zombies are all inspired by Jack Davis.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very good. You know, it's funny. Last week we had a microcon here.
That would make an awesome t-shirt.
What?
We have it.
Zombies are all inspired by
Which- One of the T-shirts we
Sell it.
have is that cover of that
partner on that
leg,
one.
Yeah.
but instead of got milk, it's got zombie.
Nice.
And that was a very popular T-shirt we were selling for a brief time.
That's great. You should have had
Well,
one
yeah.
here tonight. You would have sold more. Maybe. But last week we did a microcon and we had Paul Erickson out here, who is a writer. He wrote The Wobbit.
Yeah.
You've probably seen him at cons.
Oh, I've met him. He's a
like
character.
7 foot tall hobbit at these
Yeah.
things. But we got into the conversation. What inspired you, and what do you think the first thing out of his mouth? Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that was something for those of us zine guys,
Yeah.
especially the old Mad Magazine. We all read those Mads. I bet the National Lampoons from the 80s also did something for you, too. Oh, see the face?
yeah.
You know what? I posted
Absolutely.
the other night. We're watching Under the Dome. Do you guys watch Under the Dome? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm sorry for you. But Big Jim, they were taking his dog and they were going to kill his dog. And I immediately tweeted out the picture of, buy this magazine or I'll shoot your
Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
And Martha says, why are you putting pictures of a guy shooting a dog? I was like, no, it's National Lampoon. Of course, there are 7 of us in the room that'll get the joke, and nobody on Twitter. But I get it. So, yeah, Mad Magazine. I
Mad's
totally
a
get
generational
that, man.
thing. Mad's a generational thing.
It
We were
is.
just in the right time.
Did you read Cracked?
I liked Crack.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I liked Crack, and Marie Severin was over at Crack. John, too. John and Marie, both from EC, and they were great at crack.
Oh, and
but
the
they
EC
weren't
books,
mad.
How much did you love those EC books, too?
Oh, I've got a bunch in store. Reprints,
yeah.
of course.
Yeah, reprints, of course. Did you guys get they did the hardcover, like large
I've got a
print?
couple.
Black and whites? Got those. Yeah.
I didn't
Got
get them,
all.
and every time I see them at a con, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll sell it to
oh,
you.
I want those so bad. Oh, someday. I love those EC books, man.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of
Well, you know
DC
what?
Comics.
All that was so entertaining. That's pretty much the driving force behind Tango. Just that, and we want the fans to get their money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
Just like we did. 65 cents, 75 cents,
Yeah,
or
give
even
them a
going back
ride.
to
Don't
35 cents.
put out. Well, it's like I was going to say, don't put out Archie Comics, but now the Archie Comics are putting interesting things where you're like,
Yeah.
what happened? How'd this become interesting? But for years, it was just
Yeah.
Betty and Veronica and Archie and Jughead. Boring, same old thing all over again.
Yeah, I love Jughead. That was about it. He was always hungry.
Well, now he's fighting zombies, and they have a Punisher one.
Predator,
There's
yeah.
going to be an awful CW show called Riverdale.
Yeah.
That's where we're done with Archie. I'm putting my foot down.
There's a
Hear
C-
that? We're done
Oh,
with
no.
Archie. All right, now I'm moving on to Rich again.
Okay.
I'm asking you the same question. Now, you obviously are working in the horror genre. I'm putting quotes on that.
Correct.
Is that where you're at, or are you thinking this is just with these stories where I have other things I'm doing?
Yeah, horror is just a subset of it, so it's hard to write horror, first of all. I mean, because again, I can only scare you once, one way, right?
Right.
And then after that, I got to keep coming up with another way and
Right.
another way. So I think that's part of the problem with horror in itself. They run itself dry. So if I don't have something to really entice and scare you, I'm not going to go down that path. So I have a short run in mind with that, and we're going to wrap it up. But after that,
Do you know what you're doing next? Have you got a plan, or?
yeah, definitely. So after we wrap up with this, we're going to do a prequel, and that'll answer all the questions that anybody will have.
To which one?
So that's for Descent of the Dead.
Descent of the Dead, okay.
So there's a prequel, and then after that,
And then you're done with that
we're
series?
done, and we're wrapping it up, and I've run it dry. So.
You got a genre you want to go into? You go into rom-coms, or yeah, you're all about that. I can tell. Sci-fi, superhero.
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely in the sci-fi angle, but essentially what we're trying to do alongside that, we have the horror stories, but we have the superhero genre as well. But within that, within that foundation, we have a series of stories that are going to spawn out of that same universe. So we have characters, we have other heroes, we have detectives, and a lot of other avenues that we're going to take just based on that foundation as well. So
Very cool.
yeah, so it's fun. We're looking forward to that. I am, because again, it causes me to kind of change my thinking and change
Right.
gears. And hey, I want to write a pulp story. I've got 3 in mind, so that's going to be our our next avenue.
I think pulp's the operative word. It sounds like rather than saying sci-fi or horror, pulp is your area.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I mean, to me, once again, old school, pulp to me is all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
The pulp books were all that stuff.
Oh
Flash
yeah, and
Gordon,
great twists. Yeah.
Shadow.
Yeah. Oh, Shadow. I love the Shadow.
Shadow is
How have
great.
they not been able to revive that properly? There was that good run of comics. Do you remember when they did The Question in the 80s, too? That was a hell of a run, too.
Yeah.
I thought, and I definitely, the summer of that Alec Baldwin movie, I'm like, this is going to go somewhere.
Yeah, that should have been. I was dying for that, but you know what? It all comes back around. We were all dying for Captain America, and they did it wrong in the '70s,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
but they got it right.
They did.
I think.
Yeah. I like Chris Evans' portrayal.
Yeah. So, all right, we've only got a couple of minutes here. I want to hear. We're going to have you guys back. In fact, we're going to talk to you guys tomorrow at MightyCon.
That's right,
But we
yeah.
want to have you guys back where we can spend some time, just like we said with Tom. Why don't you give information where people can find your stuff, what cons you're going to be at, that kind of stuff. Give your social media. Let's get that out there.
All right. Yeah, so real fast, tangocomics.com is where you can find us. Where we are at or where we will be is within the same website. And we have our news section, which catalogs everywhere and anywhere we'll be for the remainder of 2015. In addition to that, Tango Comics, both, the whole word in Facebook and Twitter, will get you to our pages, and that's pretty much
Well, what's your Twitter? You got a
Uh,
Twitter that
Yeah, it's Tango Comics.
Tango Comics.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tango Comics. Same thing with Facebook. It's just Tango Comics.
We will make sure that we put Tango Comics that we tag you and stuff and get people to follow you and stuff. So
Awesome, thank
we
you.
always love to do that.
Well,
so.
you'll enjoy the face and Twitter because every so often we'll put our influences with a small bio.
Yeah.
Excellent.
As to
I
what
always
our
like that.
influences were.
We don't
So-
hide it.
Excellent. You guys were just great. I'm sorry these are so short. This was
No,
just
no
so
problem.
impromptu,
Thank
but
you.
we will definitely have you back, and tomorrow we'll talk. It was
Sounds
such
good.
a pleasure to have you on here. Thank you guys so much. Let's hear it for Rich and for Rage. Let's not hear it for Ron. He didn't make it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Blue Box.